but I'm going to synchronise on mortgages. The title, or mortgage deed, which it's called one or the other, but it means the same thing. The title of the mortgage deed is the thing you sign, the piece of paper you sign when you take out a mortgage. Plus the mortgage acceptance pages, which are pages associated with it, which contain all the numbers. The mortgage deed, the title deed, and the mortgage acceptance pages comprise a promissory note, which must, and I'll explain why that must be, pay in full for the property right at the start of the purchasing via a mortgage process. Now you're going to say, well, okay, it's a promissory note that I've signed and it's not worth anything. We'll come on to that, because I want to go through mortgages in more detail, and I want to explain why I can make that statement. Mortgages are one of the biggest scams of all time. The mortgage deed is your authorization. The thing you sign is you are signing authorization to hand possession of something you fully own to some other entity. The land registry will accept this authorization and will lodge the charge against the property. Can you authorize possession to someone else of something you do not yourself own? Can you give something to someone that belongs to someone else? Do you have the right to come up? I got this out of my purse. Do you have the right to come up, take it away from me and give it to someone? You know full well you don't. I do, because it's mine. But you don't. What about my glasses? Do you have the right to come up and take these and give them to somebody here? You don't. I do. If somebody said to me, I want your glasses, Veronica, I would say you can't have them. I would say they probably won't fit you. But if they really did and someone was desperate, I might give them away and get some more. But I can do that. You can't, because they belong to me. You never have the right to give someone else something you don't possess. In the case of a joint holder, you have to get both signatures when you're taking out a mortgage, because that's you have together you own the property, yeah, but you must fully own it. Nothing will happen until you sign the mortgage deed when you're applying for a mortgage, but you are told not to date it. Not to date it. If you do date it and send it back, they'll only Tipp-Ex it out and write a different date in, because it's not a valid promissory note. You've signed it, the amounts are on the mortgage acceptance pages, but it isn't dated. So it's not a valid promissory note as you send it back. And in that way, they couldn't use it to place a charge on the land registry, because that would be fraudulent. But they've got your signature. They've got your signature. And a blank date box. And all they have to do is to write a date in, and now it becomes a valid promissory note. And the amount is the amount of the mortgage. 200 grand, 150 grand, 100 grand. So together, that's a promissory note in that amount, which buys the property outright. They can then see that you've signed it, so they now have you by the short and curlies, and they can then type the 150 grand into a database, as the Bank of England says that's what they do. Then, once they've typed that into the database, they can go, now it's valid. That property, that money goes into the database and it goes out to the purchaser via solicitors, exchange of contracts. Then they can date the document that you signed. Now it becomes the promissory note, and now they can send it up to the land registry to place the charge on your property to make you pay the monthly repayments. But hold on a second. That's only a valid promissory note if you are the full owner. And if you are the full owner, why are you authorising somebody to put a charge on your property? And why are you making monthly repayments? Oh, it's a scam! That's the reason. It's a scam. What would be fair would be to pay the financial institution, the building society, a reasonable fee, a couple of grand, for the facility of monetising your promissory note. Here, have 2 grand, thanks for doing that. And then you go, that's fine, you're in your home, you bought it from whoever. Don't forget, money is an illusion. Any so-called debt, any debt, if all else fails, get some Tesco value paper, a ream for £4.50 and write promissory notes. Put a spirograph graphic around the edges, make it look a bit pretty, okay? Write the amount in words and numbers. For the date you can say, on the date that a sum paid by the Bank of England to the bearer on demand is shown to have taken place in real terms. When they produce a sum of £10, I'll produce a sum of £10. Get it notarised, costs you 4 of these or 5 of these. By signing it in front of a notary public, what's that doing? The notary public will look for identification. You'll have to take your passport, driving licence or whatever, even though your birth certificate, passport and driving licence say very clearly not to be used for identification purposes. But maybe be that as it may, they will then say you are you, and you sign it and they go, you signed it. Nobody else signed it, it was you that signed it. That's notarising. The statutory definition of a promissory note is cash. It has to be to make that cash. All right? 93% of all money is on computer databases. 7% is cash. That kind of stuff, or the coins, the metal. That's why the metal and the bits of paper are not money, because 93% of it is only on computer databases floating around the world. These days used to be on ledgers, written into ledgers before computers. The statutory definition of a promissory note is cash. It has to be in order to make that cash. The Bills of Exchange Act 1882 says, if payment is tendered but is rejected, the debt no longer exists. So if you write one of your own promissory notes, one of your own IOUs, and you offer it, and they say, I'm not taking that, okay, that's fine. No debt exists then, according to the Bills of Exchange Act 1882. I don't owe you anything, that's fine by me. Cheerio, kiss my ass. Okay? Can we get away with it? That's not the point. People outside the freedom movement, all of them, say we're scroungers and so on. And people actually inside the freedom movement think that we can get money this way, because they haven't got it that money's an illusion. They think we're trying to get away with something. We are not trying to get away with anything. What we are trying to do is to prevent them from getting away with blackmails, extortions, frauds and deceptions. And when you create a promissory note and offer it, okay, you're bringing that deception right to the top of the tree. You want money from me? Here's a promissory note. But it's worthless. Yes, but then so is this, because this is only offering the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And the Bank of England have said so.